It occurs to me that not everybody in the retail environment has a Cutaway Blaze King stove for their showroom. We made these available several years ago, and a number of dealers took us up on the opportunity to have one of these on their showroom floor. It allows us to better demonstrate how the stove works. It's also an excellent tool used in showrooms to train employees and when customers come in to educate them on the operation of the wood heater that they have. So let's start at the back of a Blaze King freestanding wood stove. So the air comes in through down here in the bottom of this air tube. This is the main channel. The air comes in through here. It comes up on each side here. There's a lid here on the top, main door, dome assembly lid here. And then what happens is this thermostat blade, adjusted by the customer, articulates and fluctuates based on the temperatures. Typically, there aren't these big holes in here. We've done this on the demonstrator stoves to make sure that a dealer doesn't inadvertently take this part off and give it to a customer should they need one. So this is not normal. This is just here to create a situation where it could not be exchanged out under a warranty or something. So then that air goes through the thermostat, and once it goes through the thermostat, you see this little tray here. It's got an oval cutout on it. That's not normal to have that cutout. That's there, again, there for demonstration purposes, but you can see on this side there is no cutout. The reason that cutout is there is that you can show them that the air comes through here and into this tube. So this tube that I'm showing you now, this is the entrance to that tube right there. Right in through here. And there's one on either side of the firebox. The air then travels up through here. This is the end of the manifold. It was left open so that you can see it. And that air comes into this manifold, which is part of this right here, which is in fact the air wash, where the air comes in across the glass of the stove. It's set back from the front here on the lip. It's set back by more than 1/4 of an inch, and that's so that air can flow through here and keep the glass as clean as possible. In the bottom of this one, there happens to be an ash plug hole right there, and that works with the ash drawer that's right here. Now, not all models have ash drawers, but they're optional on some models. And it's quite a large hole, and you always want to make sure that that plug is nice and tight inside that hole. Oftentimes people will say, is it okay to put a little high temperature RTV silicone on this lip before I put the lid back on? And the answer to that is yes. Inside we have a full lined wall of bricks, and then in the base as well as along the front. There's intentionally some gaps in the brick for expansion contraction, and it's okay because some ash will get in those cracks and help seal it up and make it nice and tight. Now this unit doesn't have a door on it, but right here are the hinge pins that the door rests on, and over here is the adjustment nut. So on the inside is a nut right there, and then there is a nut on the outside. They're both 9/16. So in order to adjust the tension of this door and how the door fits tightly, the gasket fits tightly to this knife edge seal, it's important to make sure that this is adjusted periodically. To make the door draw in tighter, simply loosen this nut and then tighten the inner nut. And that will take this stem and bring it this direction, allowing for the door to become more tightly sealed. The ash lip on the front of the stove here is to catch any ashes during cleaning out or anything of that nature. Let's talk about the side here over the controls. This is the thermostat control. You can see the blade opening and closing. Again, those holes aren't normally in the blade like that, those big, large holes. So this is high, this is low. Now, this is your bypass. This bypass lever opens and closes, so it should be open when you light the fire and anytime you add fuel. And then you close it, and once you close it, you got to lock it. There, now it's cammed over and locked. So let's go on the other side and see what that effect is. So right now the bypass is open. This is a 5/8 inch super dense rope gasket. If you use anything other than the one we provide, it will not seal correctly. This is a 1/2 inch piece of steel. This will come down and it will lock down on top of that gasket and cams over and locks. Now, that adjustment is possible in that tension by this bolt right here, and there's a nut on it. You can barely see that nut right here. So if you loosen this nut up, you can twist this bolt head down clockwise, and that will push this ramp upward, and that will create more tension on this rod. Now, do that incrementally if you need to adjust it at all. Just do this, turn this bolt a quarter of one turn, clockwise. If it's too tight, you would have to go counterclockwise, but that's usually not an issue. Again, flue collar, 6-inch diameter. Make sure you use fasteners here, here, and here to secure that. Again, we'll open the bypass, demonstrate how that works. There you go. And this rod actually comes in contact with that nut. And if you want to take that out, you can. So let's see how easy it is to remove a combustor. We're going to leave the bypass open. This catalytic thermometer gauge, we're going to remove this and set it off to the side. We're then going to reach up inside the stove where the flame shield is. Now this is, again, a fancy flame shield. It's got our initials in it. They don't come that way. They normally just have perforated holes everywhere. And then you reach up inside the stove, and there's a combustor in here. So let's see if I can get it started. There you go. And you can simply, doing this with one hand is a challenge, but you can simply move the combustor back and forth on each side until it drops out. It's kind of hard to do this. I'm going to set the phone down, or camera down, and see what happens here. See if you can see this. All right, so I'm going to grab each side, dog walk it out. So that is the combustor. I've taken it out. This has not been burned. This is inter-ram gasket. It needs to be on all Blaze King combustors. It swells up and seals this within the housing. Up here, this here is a dome clip, and there's another one on this side, right here. And the purpose of these is to make sure that the bypass plate doesn't become dislodged during the operation of the bypass. Again, I'm going to close the bypass. I'm going to come over here and point out what I'm talking about when I say dislodged. Right here is a vertical pin. It's kind of hard, again, to do this and see this in here. But right here, on the end of the bypass plate, it's welded a rod. Better yet, I'll reach in this way. So right here on the bypass plate is this welded rod, and it sits behind a vertical position here. And the way to make sure that it doesn't jump out of the track is to put something down on top of it this way. And so essentially, when those trays are put in, these devices, they go in like this. They sit on top of that little peg that's welded to the bypass plate right here, and they can't lift up. And I'll put the other one in on the other side at the same time. I don't think you'll be able to see it. Let's see if you can. There you go. And now let's put the combustor back in. So this particular combustor, let's see if we can do this from this angle. Go up and slide it in. There it is. It's all the way in now. And then put the flame shield back in. The flame shield through here. Let's put the flame shield up inside there. Again, we're going to try and do this one-handed. There you go. It sits behind this tab here and the one on the other side. So that's essentially how a Blaze King works, and how to, adjust the bypass tension, and also how the thermostat in itself works. If you have any questions about this, you should ask your Blaze King dealer for more information.